To get started, you're going to need two things. One, you're going to need your PMBOK 6th edition, and you're going to need an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, with Excel open, we want to go ahead and save our file. I'm going to save mine to a folder called PMP Study Plan. And I am going to name my file ITTOs version 6. Okay. Next, I'm going to set up Excel to make my data entry easier. And what I'm going to do is go to File, Options. Then you want to go to Proofing, Autocorrect Options. And then you have this autocorrect dialog box that comes up. Using this dialog box, you're going to be able to create your own shortcuts. And so that's what we're going to do here. Now, the shortcuts that I'm going to create are going to be those ITTOs that are represented many times throughout the processes. So we're going to start with change requests. So change requests is a very popular ITTO. So we're going to just put the name in. So we want, whenever we want Excel to type change request, we're going to put in CR, and then it's going to type change request. So, and then I just hit add. Okay. Next, we're going to do that for data analysis, and data analysis is going to be DA. At this point, you should pause the recording and go ahead and enter in all of the ITTO shortcuts as they are right on the screen. As you can see, the change request shortcut we already entered in. It actually shows up 25 times in the ITTOs, and data analysis shows up 31 times. So you can see that these particular ITTOs shows up a lot in the processes, and doing this autocorrect thing on the front end is going to save you a lot of time on the back end. Great. Now that we finished that, the next we're going to do is we're going to set up our tabs. The first tab we're going to set up is going to be the process list tab, and we are going to right click on sheet 1, click on rename, and then just rename that process list. The next tab we're going to create is going to be the ITTO tab, and so we just click on the plus sign. Sheet 2 comes up. We're going to go ahead and rename that to ITTO. Those are the two tabs we're going to need. Now the first tab, process list, we'll go to that tab and we'll begin to put the process names along with their knowledge areas and process groups in the Excel spreadsheet. Now you're going to be able to find this information on page 25 of your PMBOK guide. And the way that I would get there is I would just go ahead and press Control F for find, and then type in the number 25 and hit next. And you see it's going to find every 25. So I'll go down a few pages and then just hit next. It took me to 51, so I want to go previous, and now it's going to take me to the page that I want to be at. This is a bit small for me, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus sign until it is large enough. Okay, until it's large enough for me to see. And I guess 100% or full page, depending on, how you need to see it, then that's how you would use it. But using this particular page, and what I typically like to do is I like to split my screen between the PMBOK guide and the ITTO. And the first thing I'm going to do is just create my column headers. And the first one is process. The next one is knowledge area. And then the next one is process group. If I select it all and double click, then Excel would expand the columns for me. I just need the columns to be a little bit bigger, so I'm going to select them on the down and using the down arrow, I select all three, and then just using this little thing right here, I just make it as big as I want to. Anyway, the first thing I want to do is go ahead and using this PMBOK, I want to go ahead and type in all of the processes in integration management, starting with develop project charter. So I go ahead and I do that. So you can see here that the integration knowledge area has 7 of the 49 processes in the project management framework that PMI describes, and we entered all 7 in. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and enter the knowledge area, which is integration management, and so I just abbreviate that integration. Now using Excel's pull down feature, I just hit shift and then I hit my arrow key down where I want it to go, and then I just do Control D, and Control D essentially copies the information down to the area that you indicated. Next, I want to go ahead and put in the process groups. Now over here, looking at the PMBOK guide, you see that the develop project charter is in the initiating process group. Planning, develop project management plan is in the planning process group, and so you want to go ahead and enter those process groups here. And again, I am going to be abbreviating, so I'm not going to say initiating process group. I'm just going to type in initiating. If I could spell correctly, initiating. That looks about right. Initiating. Okay. Next, I'm going to go ahead and do planning for develop project management plan. Executing has 2. And then you see how when I hit E, Excel wants to help me out. So they suggest the only E word that's in the top, which is executing. And I just hit enter and it say, yep, that's what I want. Next, I have monitoring and controlling. And then finally, I have closing. Let's go ahead and kind of format this a little bit so that we can know that that's the column headings. Okay, so there you go. You have entered in all of the integration management processes. Next, go ahead and enter in the rest of the processes, and this should take you probably about 10-15 minutes to go ahead and enter in the rest of the processes. Okay, now I have finished entering in all of my processes, and you can see I've gone from develop project charter all the way through stakeholder management, monitor stakeholder engagement. Now that that's done, I want to go ahead and create my ITTO tab. The ITTO tab is going to work out a little bit differently because we're going to be using some formulas to enter in some of the data. So we're going to start with the first column, and the first column is going to be the process group. The next column is going to be the knowledge area. Column C is going to be process. Column D is going to be attribute. And then column E is going to be value. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be entering in the attributes, so whether it is an input, a tool, a technique, or an output in the D column, and then we're going to enter in the value, so the name of the ITTO in the E column. Then once we've done that, and we're going to go ahead and enter in the processes associated with those. And then we're going to use some formulas to go ahead and pull from the process list the process group and the knowledge area. Let's get started. The first thing we want to do is go back to our PMBOK guide, because we're going to have to go to the pages that has the ITTOs for each of the processes. And the way that we find the processes is over here. If you click on this triangle and go up here to the bookmark tab, click on that, and you'll be able to, this is the table of contents for the PMBOK guide. You can see it's two. It's the PMBOK guide and the Agile Practice Guide. We're going to be working primarily in the PMBOK guide. So we just go to the PMBOK guide and we go down until we find, so we're not in chapter 1. We're actually starting in chapter 4, which is the project integration management chapter. And the very first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to click on develop project charter, and that's going to take us to the project charter input, tools, and techniques, and output. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so I can see it. And I am going to go back to my ITTO, and let me just make this a little bit smaller. I just want to get it big enough so that I can see it. Okay, so now the very first thing I see is that the project charter process has 4 inputs, but the business case is one of the business documents. And in this 6th edition of the PMBOK, they are very focused on the inputs, the ITTOs, sure, but they want you to know what these particular ITTOs are. So for instance, with business documents, they're saying it's a business case. When you get to the data gathering techniques, they want you to know that for develop project charter, the data gathering techniques you're going to be using is brainstorming, focus groups, and interviews. I'm going to talk about that some more later in the class and the training that I do, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys were entering in all of the tools and techniques. That's why they said that the tools and techniques for the 6th edition grew from 600 to 1400, because they just did something a little bit different with how they represented the like the data gathering and the interpersonal team skills and some others. So we'll talk more about that during the training. Now, what we want to do is we want to go and we want to make sure that we have enough spaces to enter in all of the attributes. Now, the first thing I see here is that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inputs. So I know that I need to go to the attributes, and I need to have 5 inputs. And again, using the fill down feature, I go down for 5. So now I have 5 inputs. The next thing I see, I have 10 tools and techniques. So now I want to go and I want to type in my tools and techniques, and I want to do that 10 times. So again, I'm going to go down 10 rows, Control D, fill down, and then finally I have 2 outputs. So I'm going to do the outputs again, Control down for the fill down. Now I'm going to hop over to the values column, and I'm going to begin to type in the inputs, the tools, techniques, and outputs. Let's go ahead and do that. Now, when we get to the enterprise environmental factors and the organizational process assets, remember we put in those shortcut features, so I'm not going to have to type these all the way out. I'm just going to put in EEF for enterprise environmental factors and OPA for the organizational process assets. I did the same thing for expert judgment. I named it XPJ. And then for data gathering, I said DG. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to enter in the brainstorming, the focus groups, interviews, the interpersonal skills. I did ITS, so I just type ITS and hit enter, and then type in conflict management, facilitation, meeting management, and meetings. Next, I'm going to do the project charter, which of course we did the PC for project charter, and I'm going to type in the assumption log. Next, I go over to the process. Now, all of these processes are associated with develop project charter, so I just put develop project charter. And I can take this and I can use my shift arrow key all the way down, Control D, and it brings project charter all the way down. Next, we're going to use the formulas to pull the process group and the knowledge area from the process list, so we don't have to type that up again. Now, the formula that we're going to use is called VLOOKUP. And so we're just going to go ahead and enter in the VLOOKUP formula. The first thing we want to tell it is what we wanted to look up. We wanted to look up the develop project charter process, and we're going to use Excel's absolute reference or variable reference. I forget it, but it's F4, and I'll hit it twice. 3 times actually, because I wanted to stay on the column C, and you see the $ in front of C, but then when I pull it down, I want the row to change. Next, I'm going to go ahead and put a comma in. I'm going to go to my process list tab because that's where I want to find my array, and I'm going to go from A2 all the way down to C50. And I'm going to hit F4 one time. And as you see here, there's a $ in front of the A and a $ in front of the 2. So it's a $ in front of the column, and it's a $ in front of the row for A, and then the colon and C50. That's my array. Next, I'm going to look and see what I'm trying to look up. In this case, I'm trying to look up the process group, and the process group happens to be in column 3 here. So column 1, 2, 3, it's going to be in, and I'm going to put column 3, and then I want to select exact match, close up my formula, and there you have it. It's pulling initiating from column 3. Now, I want to take the initiating and I want to go all the way down to the end where develop project charter is. And again, using Control D, I'll fill that down. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the fill right feature of Excel. And so I'm going to hold the shift key down, hit my right arrow, and then I'm going to go Control R to fill right. And you see it copied the formula from the A column to the B column exactly as it was written. But what I want to do is I want to use column number 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and put column number 2 there. And now it's going to be pulling from the process list column number 2, which is the knowledge area column. Now I'm going to fill that down, and that's it. I've completed entering in all of the ITTOs for develop project charter. Now I just need to go to and do the same thing with my next process. I'll walk through one more with you, and then you'll do it on your own, and I'll come back at the end and I'll show you what else needs to be done. Okay, so now we want to go to the develop project management plan. So if we go here to the process list, our next process is develop project management plan. We go to our PMBOK, to the bookmark, click on develop project management plan, close the bookmark, and then you see here I'm going to make this 100%. You see here now that I have the ITTOs for my developed project management plan. I go back to the ITTO and we do the same thing. Now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my process list. I'm going to copy develop project management plan. I'm going to go here and I'm going to paste it. I just use Control V. Hit my check mark and there you have it. I have my develop project management plan. Now the thing is figuring out how many inputs, tools, and techniques and outputs I have. I have 4 inputs for develop project management plan. I have 11 tools and techniques and 1 output. So I'm going to do that again using my fill down feature. So I got 4 inputs. I have 11 tools and techniques. And right up here, if you look right up here, when I click on tools and techniques, it's going to tell you how many rows I selected. So see that number? Now I know that I need 11. So I do Control down and then I need 1 output. Now I go over here and I take it all the way down and I hit my Control D and it fills it down. Now I just have to go in and I have to enter in the inputs, the tools and techniques, and the outputs. Now the first one is PC, is project charter. The next one is outputs from other processes. EEFs, OPAs, expert judgment, data gathering, brainstorming. And so as soon as I start typing brainstorming, Excel suggests it and it makes it easier for my data entry, just like we did with the process list. The next one is checklist, focus groups has already been used, interviews, interpersonal and team skills is ITS, conflict management, facilitation, meeting management, and then meetings. And you see it gets easier because Excel does that suggesting thing for you. The next one is my project management plan, which I use the shortcut PMBOK, and that entered that in. Now, this part over here is easy because I don't have to enter in any more formulas. I can just take these formulas and I can use the Control down to fill them down. And as you see, for develop project management plan, it pulled the planning process group and the integration knowledge area. Now go ahead and fill out the rest of the processes again using your PMBOK, going to the bookmarks, seeing where the next process is, and then using that information to fill in your ITTO. Okay, when you are done, you should have listed 1,447 ITTOs. Now, I don't want you to get intimidated by that number because many of the ITTOs are going to be duplicated. For instance, if you filter on project management plan, you'll see that project management plan is an output of the develop project management plan process, but then it becomes an input to 47 other processes. By my count, that's only 48 processes. We know that there's actually 49 processes. So can you guess which of the processes is missing? Which process does not have project management plan as an output or project management plan as an input? There's only one process. See if you can answer that question. Meanwhile, as you begin to create your ITTO, I want you to pay attention to those types of patterns. where one process's output then becomes another process's input. Be curious. Ask yourself questions about the patterns that you're seeing, about the relationships in the patterns. This is going to help you out a whole lot to begin to understand PMI's approach to project management. I hope this video was helpful for you and that you have a lot of fun creating your own ITTOs. Thank you very much for listening, and we will talk to you in the next video.